Hello dear ones! Today there's a very special video, not just because of the exciting location where I am right now. I'm sitting in front of the White House in Washington and there's some kind of campaign event going on, I have no idea, with live music. I hope you can still hear me. Today there's a very special top 10 list, namely the continuation of my 10 Golden Rules video. That was my very first video, which I recorded 5 years ago in 2019. And back then I compiled 10 points that are for me the most important keys to overcoming depression. But over time it became clear to me that there are many more points that I didn't mention at all. And that's why today comes the continuation, so to speak, with points 11 to 20. 10 more golden rules for overcoming depression. Welcome to Soul Tapping. My name is Sabine König. I am a psychotherapist from Cologne, currently in Washington, DC. And this is my podcast, Overcoming Depression with Love. And now here comes the second part of my Golden Rules video, namely points 11 to. The 10 Golden Rules for Overcoming Depression. I might briefly summarize what these first 10 points were for those of you who might not have seen the first video or for whom it has been a while since it is already an older video. The 10 points that seemed most important to me at the time are acceptance. That means accept your current situation, otherwise nothing can change. Secondly, it's about allowing the repressed feelings that you have suppressed for a long time to surface so that they can now be healed. The third point was self-love. That means if you make a great effort to be very, very loving and patient with yourself, then you are taking a huge step on your path to healing. The fourth point was positive thinking. That means you look at what negative beliefs you have that don't help you at all and turn them into positive ones. The fifth point was forgiveness. So take a look at whom you might not have forgiven in your life and what still burdens you, which might be keeping you stuck in depression. The sixth point was gratitude. This is a wonderful, positive feeling that can be trained to shift from seeing the glass as half empty to half full. The seventh point was nutrition. It's very important not to neglect your body, but to see what adjustments you can make in your diet to truly nourish yourself with nutrients. The eighth point was patience. This means being mindful of how you proceed on your path to healing, that you give yourself the time you need instead of putting pressure on yourself. The ninth point was change. This can also mean external change, that you might be in depression because certain things in your life are no longer good for you and need to be changed. And finally, the 10th point, that was therapy. You can overcome your depression, but it's incredibly difficult to do it alone. So get help. That was my 10th in my last video. And now come the next 10 golden rules and I will explain them to you a bit more thoroughly. Point 11, responsibility. If we want to come out of depression, a very important step is to get out of the victim role. Get out of the mindset that I can't do anything about my illness because this thinking keeps you trapped in it. Get out of blaming others, thinking it's their fault because he or she made some mistakes in your childhood. And maybe that's why you're depressed now. I can't do it, it doesn't work for me. I was subjected to XYZ in my childhood. This is the victim mentality. You must overcome this if you want to overcome your depression. And you should be aware that regardless of what happened in your childhood, for which you are of course not to blame, you have created your current state as it is yourself. This does not mean that you are to blame for your condition. I want to emphasize this repeatedly. There is a difference between blame and responsibility. You are not to blame, but you are responsible for your condition. And if you acknowledge this, then you can also independently get out of this state again, because you have power over your life, over your thoughts, over your feelings, over all of that, in how you now deal with the fact that you perhaps had this childhood, because that is your responsibility. Point 12 is called mindfulness. Go through your life consciously. That is very, very important. These 3 important keys to healing, awareness, gratitude, and love always apply. So awareness and mindfulness are always the very first step towards change. And that's why you should try to turn off this autopilot as often as possible and be conscious of what you are doing right now. So observe yourself, observe what is happening inside you in your body, observe what you feel, what you think, observe your own emotional reaction patterns to certain situations, to certain people. Observe the similarities, find the common thread. What is it that you encounter repeatedly in life? Perhaps people who treat you in a similar way over and over again. Then you know, okay, this is my pattern. I can change something within myself instead of shifting the responsibility to others, as in point 11. So become the impartial and neutral observer of your own life, your thoughts, your feelings, your behavior in relation to the behavior of others as you go about your day. Point 13 is called message. Find the message of your depression. I have already made a separate video on this, which I will link for you again in the info box. I will link all the individual videos for you so that you can look them up in more detail. Listen to your intuition, listen to your inner voice. What are you allowed to change? What is there for you to learn, perhaps? What needs to be changed, both internally, thoughts and feelings and patterns, as well as externally, partnership, job, place of residence, and so on. So ask yourself all these questions. What have you suppressed for too long? Your feelings, your needs, perhaps some parts of you that have certain needs, like setting boundaries. For example, which trauma would like to be healed now and whom do you still need to forgive? You may ask yourself all these questions to find out what the message behind your depression is, because it has a message for you. It didn't accidentally fall from the sky just to annoy you. Point 14 is called decisions. Learn to make decisions. Perhaps you know this a little about yourself, that you feel life just drifts along without you being able to make clear decisions for yourself. So you feel like life just happens to you and you are somehow a victim of your circumstances. Therefore, decide to become the conscious creator of your reality by learning to make decisions. For example, the decision to become healthy and happy. So that sounds so trivial because you probably have already made that decision. But have you really made it clearly and consciously? I observe significant differences among the people who come to me. There are people who are very clearly committed, as the saying goes. So they come to my practice and they want to do everything to get out of the crisis. They sit there and take notes on everything, bring their notes to the next session, have worked on themselves, are willing to spend a lot of money to afford sessions and set their priorities so that they truly put this first. These are people who have made the decision for themselves that they want to get healthy. But there are also other people who quite obviously haven't made this decision clearly for themselves yet because they are not really committed. They do come, but then they say, well, I didn't have time to tap and so on. We know that. And learn to make decisions again. Now it's gotten a bit loud here. There's really a lot going on here. I didn't really think it would be like this. I thought I would find a cool location. I hope you can understand me. Point 5 is somewhat related, namely aggression. Heal your relationship with the topic of aggression. I've already made a video on the topic of suppressed anger. So often depression is suppressed anger. That means if the topic of aggression isn't quite settled, then you either have too much or too little of it. If you are in depression, the likelihood is high that you have too little of it. Every person has aggression within them, but you don't express it. And that's why it doesn't explode outward, but rather implodes inward. That is typical for depression. This means it is very important for you to learn to find a healthy form of aggression for yourself and to express it in a healthy way instead of completely rejecting it, because that doesn't work. Every person has love within them and every person has aggression within them. That's why we need aggression. We need it, for example, to be able to set boundaries, to be able to say no, to be able to assert ourselves, and also to be able to make decisions. So we also need a powerful, healthy form of aggression for that. Not aggressiveness. Yeah, that's something different. But simply, this is how it is. This is who I am, and this is what I want. And I stand for it, I stand up for it, and I will get it now. You need this to be able to develop a healthy self-esteem and also to be able to make decisions. And this also includes letting out your stored anger. So if you still have these pressure orders within you, as I explained in the video about trauma, That means if as a child you had a lot of anger inside you but learned that it wasn't very acceptable to the adults to scream out your anger, throw yourself on the floor in the supermarket and drum your arms on the ground, then you went to the other extreme and learned to suppress your anger out of sheer fear of the adult's reaction. And now it still sits as an energetic blockage in your system and wants to be resolved. And that's why you should find, let's say, socially acceptable ways to release your aggression by letting out a real scream. It's best to do this when you are alone and not shout at other people, so as not to ruin your relationships, but rather deal with it by yourself, or you hit a punching bag somewhere, or you go play tennis, or do something where you can really, really scream and let it out. This does your system incredibly good, and these unresolved stored pressure orders can finally leave your system. And above all, remove judgments and condemnations. Then you won't need to become aggressive and suppress it again. When you no longer judge people based on what they should or shouldn't do, how they are allowed to be or not, how you are allowed to be or not, you have much less reason for aggression. Then everything becomes much more relaxed. Point 16 is called truth. Recognize your true self and live your truth. That's what it's all about. I have already made 2 videos that can guide you further in this. One is about being authentic, and the other is the video about the fear of one's own greatness. That also involves living your truth. So feel where you are still holding back yourself and your power. Where are you still bending and adjusting yourself to avoid hurting others or to not look foolish or something like that? How often do you still use little white lies and are not authentic, not living your truth? Simply to avoid certain things, or not maliciously, but to manipulate others into thinking something specific about you. For example, where do you still sweep things under the rug and don't look at them? Where are you still repressing? Where are you lying to yourself because you don't want to see it? Because discovering the truth could be so painful. Recognize your false negative beliefs about yourself and return to your true greatness. Acknowledge your true greatness and your truth. Point 17 is called gifts. Do not view problems and challenges in your life as a stop sign. Not, oh, how terrible, I'm so affected, why does this always have to happen to me, and why again, blah, blah, blah. But rather view them as opportunities for growth and healing. That's what I mean. Ask yourself every time something bad happens, where is the gift? I've already trained myself to do this. I ask, where is the gift? Because I know the universe has no coincidences and it always has good learning opportunities ready for me, because in the end, it is always on my side. I just know that simply because I've been observing it for so long, and maybe I've also arranged it a bit in my head. If you think maybe that's not true at all, then it doesn't matter. I feel good about it. That's the point. So if something stupid happens, not know why me again? Great, another new healing opportunity. Thank you for the gift. Point 18 is called body. But they are loud here. My goodness. I think the Balkans are really going to the next round here. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen a Saturday afternoon in the most beautiful summer weather at the end of September. Okay. Point 18, the body nutrition. Huge ones plays a huge role. I have already made various videos on that. An interview with Pavla Hitten, who in 2 different parts, that is in 2 different videos, gives you tips on how to manage your diet during depression, even when you are exhausted and don't really have the capacity to cook for hours or chop vegetables, how you can still, with simple means, start doing something for yourself and your healing through nutrition. Love your body. Love it no matter how it looks, no matter what condition it is in. Make friends with it because it always means well for you. Your body does everything for you to somehow bring you into balance, even if it's in a way that you don't like. For example, if you feel very small and insignificant inside but are overweight at the same time, it could be that your body is simply trying to provide balance, to regain equilibrium. So make sure that if, let's say, you have an issue with being overweight, ensure that you and your personality grow and that your words, which you speak to the world, gain more weight again. It comes because you take yourself seriously and consider yourself important again. And then your body doesn't have to do that anymore. As an example, so love your body, speak lovingly to it, Take good care of it and stop criticizing it. Be grateful for its good intentions, because it always has good intentions for you. This is a very important point. Even in the case of depression, provide your body not only with good nutrition, but above all with exercise. Exercise is very important, fresh air, and sunshine are mood enhancers. Light exercise is always good, preferably every day, so that stress and stress hormones can be reduced, and so that you can generally achieve a good mood and condition. And if you find it difficult to love your body, tap. I highly recommend it. Feel free to come to me for a tapping session. There is also in my online course, in one of the modules, I can't remember exactly, I think it's in module 1, which is about self-love, there is a tapping round on the topic of learning to love your body. Maybe that would be something for you, to just try it with EFT, because I know that many find it very, very difficult, not only in depression, to love their body, but it is something that can be learned. You can really learn it. That doesn't mean that afterwards you will be totally thrilled with your body and want to kiss every little roll of fat. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It's simply about stopping the rejection of your body, because it senses that, and it makes it sad as it is a living being, your body, and it has consciousness. That's why you should take care of your body. Point 19 is called energy. A very important point that is completely overlooked in most psychotherapies. It's about paying more attention to a very important life rule, a fundamental rule of the universe, namely that everything is energy. In reality, everything is energy. Einstein, Tesla, all these great people have all said we need to start rethinking. We need to start viewing the world as a world full of energies and frequencies in order to move forward. For me, this has two different aspects. One is that getting out of depression means raising your energy level. I've already made a video about what you can do for this on all 3 levels. Body, mind, and soul. Body means resting the body, as I just mentioned, light exercise, sunlight, nutrition. The second is changing overwhelming patterns in your mind, altering beliefs, changing behavior patterns. And the third is letting go of emotional baggage, that is on the spiritual level. And then you can also ask yourself energetically, where does my battery have a leak? Why is my life so exhausting? So where am I still living on borrowed time regarding my own strength instead of resting? You might try a small exercise by writing an energy balance. Make a list, a table, and write down what in my life gives me strength and what drains my strength. And then take a look at what the balance is at the bottom and make sure you do it in such a way that more things give you strength than take it away. Because if it's the other way around, you lose strength and then you head towards exhaustion. The second part of this energy point is to observe the spiritual laws. Observe, for example, the law of resonance and become the conscious creator of your reality. I've also made many videos about this, including 2 about placing orders with the universe, on how you can get to the point of observing the law of resonance. For example, by first creating your new dream life, what you would like to have on an energetic level in your imagination, think and feel into it, how do you want it to be, and by doing so you attract it according to the law of resonance. I've talked a lot about that already. And energy also means that in your energy system, in your chakra system and such, you have energetic blockages because, for example, some old emotional issues are stored in the chakras, stuck like frozen life energy. And you can thaw them out, so to speak, by applying energetic healing techniques such as EFT, which is specifically about resolving energetic blockages. So feel free to contact me if you want to learn that. It's simply a fantastic way to deal with this topic. It's getting even louder here now. I hope I can publish the video at all. I'll just do it. I've just decided to quit. I've given up my membership in the Club of Perfectionists. Now it's really starting here. Welcome to America. Okay, we have one last point, point 20. Maybe I'll just wait for them, the police over there. And we have one last point, point 20, which today is about listening to your heart. How does that actually work? You can also take another look at that. Reconnect with your soul, meaning soul not in the sense of your psyche, but in the sense of your true essence, your divine essence. So your true self, what you really are, what remains when one day your body dies. That's what is meant by that. Take the path from the ego to the heart. That means learning to view things differently, from another perspective, not from the ego anymore, but from the soul level. I have tried to explain this to you so many times in the videos. I hope you roughly understand what I mean. That means repeatedly listening inward, closing your eyes, placing your hands on your heart if you like. You can also do a heart coherence exercise, which is very, very helpful. This is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza, for example, and also Greg Braden and all these people, these new modern spiritual scientists, have scientifically studied, showing that through attention and meditation, you can bring your heart into a specific frequency state. This involves heart rate variability. When it is as high as possible, meaning the irregularity of the heartbeat, when that is as high as possible, you reach a high, good, energetic state. And you can do this by simply focusing your attention on your heart and perhaps placing your hands on your heart chakra, then charging yourself with good feelings by thinking of beautiful memories. And then you can consult your heart. There are many ways to get back to that state, to hear this inner voice and not always just listen to the loud mind, which always wants to tell you it's rational nonsense, which might sometimes be helpful, but mostly not, when it comes to things like healing from depression. So listen inwardly instead of constantly listening to the mind, and also not constantly listening to others. This is also typical in depression, this learned helplessness where you always think you urgently need to get advice from others because you have no idea what's good for you. And they are taking very nice photos here in the background. And yes, so don't always just listen to others, trust your inner voice and take the time to reconnect with it instead of saying, I can't hear it. You might need to practice that a little. So ask where am I drawn to whom perhaps, or to which place? Where am I drawn to? What is it that makes my heart sing? Where do I truly lose track of time, where I forget everything around me and where I'm truly happy? Or then ask yourself, what could my soul's plan be? So why am I here? What is the true reason for my existence in this incarnation, on this planet? Why have I come here? Because it is so, at least in my view, the further you deviate from your soul's plan, the more likely you are to experience something like depression, illness, or panic attacks. And when you move back towards yourself, the symptoms disappear. That's why find out why you are here. And in my experience, there is nothing more fulfilling in this life than to fulfill the meaning and purpose of your existence. That is my experience. And that's why find out what the meaning and purpose of your existence is, what your soul wants here. And yes, just experiment with it a bit. Feel free to write to me in the comments if you have any questions. I always appreciate comments. You can also write whether you were very bothered by the background noises like election campaigns, tourists and other sounds. Then next time I will go somewhere else. There are still many beautiful places here in this city. I will be here for 3 months until the beginning of December. I have already made a video where I told you that I am doing granny au pair here. And of course you can still continue to book appointments with me. Feel free to do so. So I have an appointment slot at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and another at 6:30 p.m. in the evening, where I continue my practice part-time. And if you want to tap with me, you are very welcome to do so even now while I am here. And I am really looking forward to staying in touch with you and for you to simply reach out to me. Of course, you are welcome to subscribe to my channel as always. Hit the bell, share this video, and feel free to give it a like if you enjoyed it. So dear ones, take care. Best regards from distant America. Bye bye.